there's like anything creepy or like anything that like you can't explain, because we're doing a Halloween.
I can tell you a lot of stuff like that, but you probably think I'm crazy.
Well, no, I'm not, because we've actually Justin Sumner, you know Justin Sumner.
Yes.
He was coming. He was like, man, I don't have any ghost stories, but there's this one thing where I was being held down by a demon. I was like, what do you mean? That's a great ghost story.
What happened to him happened to me.
Oh, sleep paralysis, something like that. Where you explain what? Bring us through it.
My first home that I purchased. Okay, I purchased it in a small town near the reservations.
Bring us through it.
And
in Connecticut.
In Connecticut,
okay.
Near the Pequot, the Golden Pequot Reservation. Okay, it's in Colchester. New home, you know. We moved in, and we started hearing a lot of, you know, weird sounds coming from all over the house, like creeping, walking, you know, footsteps and all that. And I used to tell this to, at the time, my girlfriend, and she was, "Oh, this is your imagination," or you know, or you're doing something you should be doing. We
always try to brush it off, like,
you know. So you know, weeks and months go by, and you know, I keep hearing all these creakings. It could be, my wife says, could be the house just, you know, creaking because it's new, settling and all that. And one night I'm in the room, and my bed starts shaking. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not lying. It started shaking. I freaked out. I ran outside the house. I called my girlfriend. I go, babe, the whole bed just shook, and then she goes, were you drinking again? I swear I wasn't drinking or nothing. Well, that passed. Months later came by. My buddy was visiting. He stayed in that same room where that happened to me.
So you never went back in that room? You're like, that's the guest room now.
I had 3 rooms, and that room was out living for me. But everyone who ever slept in that room encountered that same situation.
That is so, like, nothing like that happens until you're living in somewhere it's like Indian reservations, which is like where you're saying, like, here in Connecticut, guys might have heard of like Haunting Connecticut. Yes. There's the Mohegan Sun and like all the old Indian like folklore and stuff like that. And I believe in all that stuff. Like, I wouldn't mess with any of that. I do too,
because I'm going to tell you, I experienced it. Okay, and I found out so much information after that because I looked into it. I guess the type of spirit or ghost or whatever you call it was what they call a gray ghost.
Which means what? Because I never heard of that. I've heard of like orbs. I've heard of.
I guess this was a playful one. It wasn't something you're going to come and terrorize you, you know, and
terrorize you. It was shaking your bed.
Right? Yeah, but you know, there's some incidents you see on TV and you hear about where these people, you know, are like trying to murder you.
Maybe foreplay or something, like shaking the bed.
I mean, I'm telling you, man. There's one. This is the weirdest part. Like I said, my girlfriend didn't believe me. She said it was just my imagination. And one day I get a call, and she goes, babe, I believe you. I go, what do you mean? She goes, the ghost. It happened to me. I go, what do you mean? She goes, my grandmother's music box started playing. I go, so? She goes, there's no music mechanism in that music box. So she ran out of the house too. It was unbelievable. So after that, believe it or not, I went to go talk to a priest about it.
Cool. Well, just to let people know, Ed and Lorraine Warren are actually from Connecticut, who are like the ghost people. So there's a lot of people around here that are familiar with stuff like that. So who did you reach out to? How did you find a priest that knew anything about that?
I went to talk to my mom about it.
Okay.
She told me all this because she was a true believer. I didn't believe in that at all until it happened to me. And then when I talked to spirit, you know, they go, well, you know, there's types of spirits that just roam, you know, certain areas. This could have been, you know, an area where the Indians, you know, had ceremonies or burial. Well, up the road, there was a burial area. Okay, you don't know how they developed that whole area. They could have developed where, you know, where my home was built on, you know. But what he did is he went there and he did his little prayers in all the rooms. He put the holy water and all that, and that didn't work. That didn't work. What happened? What we found out later on is that when we spoke to this other person, they go, "Did this happen from day one?" I go, "No, it didn't happen from day one. We moved in, and like 6 months later, it started happening." So the person said, "Well, what changed in 6 months from the day you moved into that?" Well, we started buying a lot of stuff.
I've heard of stuff like this before, and it makes so much sense, like the haunted collector and like haunted dolls and stuff like that.
Eddie, we started buying stuff. We didn't buy new stuff because we didn't afford nothing. So we were going to like tag sales, flea markets, and all that. And we picked up this old clock. mantle clock. It was from an estate sale. Well, the woman, when she passed away, the kids sold her stuff. Well, I took that clock home. right right after this person told us that, it goes, if it came from someone that had something that was very passionate and close to this object, it could still be there. So what we did? We took that clock out the house and it stopped.
Well, just fair warning, in case I die, no one take my iPhone, because I'm coming back for it. Seriously. That is so weird. You had to get rid of the clock, right?
We ended up getting rid of the clock and it stopped. So there was something attached to that clock.
Is this the same house that you're in, or
no.
This is a different one?
That was gone. The house is gone. We're in a different house now, and we don't have no problems. But yeah, I'm a true believer in that, because I've lived it. I experienced it. That whole experience probably lasted for close to 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's 9 months too long for me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's 9 months too long.
But it is what it is. But that's my story with my Halloween story.
See, that is perfect, because what I'm doing is actually I'm going to be having like a whole bunch of fighters, MMA media, whatever, have their stories shared. I'm going to put them all together, compile. So now we're going to take this clip and put it on that. So that's a really good story. And I've been experiencing a lot of weird stuff in my life, but like always brush it off until like you can't anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I can't wait to share some of that stuff. What about Ouija boards? Did you ever let your kids play with like a Ouija board or anything like that?
I fear the damn thing. So
have you ever played with it before or anything?
Yes,
like that?
I did. When someone introduced it to me when I was a little child, and then someone said to me, "It's the devil's toy," and that was it. I stayed away from it after that, So I only had one, encounter with that. So I've never played with that. My kids have, mentioned it, and it's not gonna happen. So because of my experience that I've had in my life with stuff like that, I don't want to mess around with that stuff.
You know what? I was talking to Diego Lima the other day. I was like, man, I found God now in my life. I don't even celebrate Halloween anymore or anything like that, just because I want to keep the energy away from the kids and all that. When I can understand that, but the best part is using your imagination as a kid, feeling free and stuff like that. Well, let's jump into some of the MMA talk. Obviously, you got a big event coming up